Welcome back to 321 Backlog, the podcast where two co-presidents of the Tommy Tallarico fan club are on a mission to count down their video game backlogs. I'm James, and I'm joined by my, we'll call him friend, Alec.
Worst enemy.
Keep your friends close and your worst enemies closer. That's why we live hundreds of miles away.
Oh, man, what a day.
You have a great day?
I had like 17 service calls today. I actually had like 5, but
you're actually, joke's on you. You're on a service call right now. Do you say you did a bunch of escorts today?
Yeah.
Okay. We live different lives.
It's my new day job.
Banging escorts.
Yes.
And some people do make a job out of that, especially escorts.
Not a bad gig.
Hey, we're using Craig, not Alistair.
Oh no.
Is that going to be an issue?
It should be fine.
I noticed that my face wasn't super purple today. We need to focus.
We don't need to focus at all. What are we doing today? Boy,
oh boy.
Boy, oh boy. Well, before we get into that, because I know it's going to be probably one of our best discussions ever, let's get into our two new segments. What have we been doing first? I keep forgetting the order in which we do these.
I think we're doing the backlog builders first.
All right, let's build some backlogs, dude.
Yeah, man. Have you added anything to your sweet backlog since last we spoke?
In addition to the game we're playing next, which I'm refraining from naming.
Yep, don't say that.
Not necessarily next, but it's in the pipeline. We have to nail down some guests and stuff. I did buy a game that I had heard about and had been curious about, like through blah 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 whatever. Anyway, it was Quantum Break.
Is that a 007 game?
No, no, it's this like action RPG narrative storytelling kind of game, but also has like a live action component. I haven't dug too deep, and I'm hoping when I bought it, it was the game I was thinking of. But there was this game where you would play through this story, but it also had like little short movies or shows that came with it, and
it was
you
a show, you kind
of consume them in tandem, and they were supposed to go hand in hand. The game looks and like, the show.
Yeah, the actor of that kind of looks like Doogie Howser if he was on too many steroids or something. It's really weird.
The blonde guy.
Yeah.
He was in X-Men. I've seen him in a couple other things. He was in Warehouse 13 back in the day. Awesome show if you've never seen it.
Never heard of it. I'll do you one better. I've never even heard of it.
So it's got Littlefinger from Game of Thrones.
Hate that guy's face. Cool.
Yeah. He has a good bad guy face.
He does. He looks like a scumbag. Yeah. Somebody once asked me if I could punch any character from anything in the face, who would it be? And that was my answer, was Littlefinger.
The actor.
Lord Baelish. The cover of that game does kind of look like a 007 game, so I'm not wrong.
Yeah. No, you're... Quantum Beak. I think it does have like a supernatural element to the story, so...
Okay.
Curious on that one. That one might be in our future for the show, but I went ahead and grabbed that. I saw it. I think it was on sale, and I went ahead and just pulled the trigger. And that's actually it. It was a pretty slow purchase week. I was trying to not go crazy.
Same. So I did buy the game that we're going to be discussing in the future, which is Redacted. I also got, it went on sale. Square Enix had a big sale. So I think I might have mentioned it a while ago. I was modding a couple of PC games, and now that's kind of got me in the spirit of modding. So I bought Final Fantasy VIII, the remastered version on PC, which is like the 19th time I've purchased that game. Love it. But I guess the good mods are on that version of it, and I owned previously the non-remastered version. But unlike a lot of companies, usually they will give you a copy of the remastered edition when it comes out, since you already own the game. But Square Enix don't play that shit, so so I had to buy that. I will start trickling mods into it. There's like graphical mods, like difficulty mods, just a lot of stuff that makes the game look next gen when it's not. And then dude, forgive me. I acquired Skyrim, and I'm going to try modding that because I just want to see how far that game got pushed. I have like a nice new monitor that's like very pretty. I've got a 4K TV out there. The Skyrim doesn't even run 1080. It only runs 1080p natively. So there's like all these mods for like 4K resolutions and all this stuff. So I just want to see it. I just want to experience it. And that game, I want to see a game that originally was like 7 gigabytes file size and see how far people have pushed it visually.
Right. I never really got into the Skyrim stuff. If we ever wanted to do an episode on that, we should have my brother on, because he loved all of Elder Scrolls.
Yeah,
it never got its hooks into me.
So I played Skyrim when it came out. I bought it on. Did I buy it on PC and Xbox 360? Probably. I know I had a copy of it on PC, but now they have the anniversary edition as well as the fucking special edition. Probably, I think it's called.
Right.
Yep, that is it. That was a joke too. And it landed. So yeah, there's 3 versions of it out there, and you have to pay for each one of them. So
I gotcha.
Cool.
All right.
Sorry for that. Was lengthy.
That's good.
We're gonna mod the shit out of these games, make them look real crispy.
Real crispy. Well, do you want to get into our main topic today?
What have you been playing, Alec?
Oh, that's right.
That's what
I'm so sorry.
Know. That's why I'm here. I want to know what you've been playing.
Rewind. I have been playing World of Warcraft because I'm being dragged through the mud, kicking and screaming, going back into a game that I wrote off about 7-8 years ago.
Yeah, same.
And it has been a slog. It's a rough game. I don't know if I elaborated. It's World of Warcraft Classic, and right now they're going through the Season of Discovery, or better named, which I think you guys had called it, Season of Despair. It is a horrible
Season of Disorder.
A horrible leveling experience. The mechanic that they're pushing for this season, I'm not a fan of. It doesn't make any sense to me on why it's even a thing. I tend to like for the most part, on average, I'd say most of the time, I like improvements or changes that these game companies make with games like World of Warcraft, where there's slow progression from like, oh, hey, we started with this one game and we can now make graphical improvements and then mechanical improvements, and we can make the game experience better, blah, blah, blah. Most of those changes I tend to like.
Yeah.
I know WoW back in the day, as some of these changes were happening, some of the comments that I would hear online were like, this is making it just too easy to play, or it plays itself, or like there's no challenge. But it was just, a lot of people didn't like some of the improvements they made. I really enjoyed where it went.
Yeah.
What we would consider now in 2024 the retail WoW, I still think it's good. I think it's decent. It's expensive, which is why I usually don't play it, because it's just continuously their whole monthly subscription model. I don't play it enough to really want to do that. But
right.
Anyway, that whole thing, I know you got some similarities, so you might touch on that a little bit. And the game that we're playing, or that we're discussing farther in the episode, Fable. I went ahead and put some time into that. What have you been playing, sir?
Same game, same. Yeah, it's. I think I've definitely put more time into the season of derogatory statements, but it's fun. They need to make adjustments, and very soon, or I'm not going to continue playing it for long. I can tell you that, which I know
Yeah.
you're thrilled to hear for so many reasons. Fable as well, and then I've also been playing Vampire Survivors. I don't think you've ever played that game.
I haven't. It's like a bullet hell,
It
correct?
is, yeah. It's a bullet hell, I guess, but it's
Mhm.
just it's unique. You don't have to shoot in it the way you do in a lot of bullet hell games. Like the game, you automatically shoots for you, and like it's fun. The best thing is there's like a bunch of different characters in it.
Mhm.
There's like one that I played or I unlocked earlier, and like everyone, like there's the base characters, and they have like a guy that throws axes or a guy that uses like bibles that spin around him, and they damage enemies like a force field, but every so often the force field goes away, so then you would try to get something to make the force field last longer, or
Mhm.
make it so there's a shorter cooldown on it, so that way you can, you're not taking damage. But then like there's just weird stuff, like there's a witch who's very fast, but there's constantly cats that you can't kill that are trying to attack her. And that's like part of her ability. It's very weird, but it adds like a ton of replayability. And then there's different levels, and the different
Mhm.
levels have different objectives within them, different ways to unlock new characters. So there's a ton of replayability with it, and it's fun. I think you would enjoy it a lot. And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
can't last more than 30 minutes per game.
Oh,
Like
interesting.
each level, it runs a maximum of 30 minutes. And there's a good chance you're going to
Okay.
not make it to that, but it's not in a frustrating way. Like you see it
Right.
coming, so you know that you're going to pass away. But it's fun.
I gotcha.
Been playing that a
Okay.
lot. It's just a nice game to pass time, and I know a lot of people are addicted to it, and they still constantly put out content, and it's very cheap. I think it's like a $5 game. You can't beat that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'll have to give it a try.
Yeah, you gotta.
Um,
$5. Yep.
I feel like those really, really cheap games like that is, I don't know if it's on discount or that's its normal price,
Normal
but
price, man.
some of those games that are like a very simple mechanic, what I've noticed for me at least is like I either love it or it's just boring, and it's never consistent. So I found ones that are like,
Yeah.
oh, this is really, really fun. Simple mechanic. I think I mentioned it a couple times on here. A game called Mini Motorways.
Yeah,
I mentioned
you
it
have
in
mentioned
in the
that.
last episode. It's a super simple mechanic, and it's kind of fun. It's fairly fun. I've played it a ton. I can't think of any off the top of my head that were like, just, oh, not for me. Oh, Rogue Tower. It's like a tower defense game, right? Simple mechanics. Put the guns down. Things come through a path. Whatever. I've played games that are like it, and this one just wasn't for me, and it was like $10 or something. So yeah,
I
I
tend
think
to
it just
not
depends.
like the super cheap indie games usually, but this game, it's just fun. I don't know. You
Yeah,
gotta try it, and you will. I'm gonna
right
make you
on.
try
Yeah,
it one day.
I will.
But that's not what we're
All
talking about
right.
today. We're not talking about that
That's
today.
not what we're
No,
talking about
we're
today.
talking about something different. A quest, a coming of age tale, a shitty game.
Man. So yeah, and it's frustrating because it's a game that is we're about to get the fourth installment in
Ugh.
the series, hopefully this year. Uh, we're talking about Fable today, the
Yeah, we should have
original.
mentioned that. Yep.
Yep,
Fable.
Fable. I played the anniversary version because it was on Game Pass,
Ugh.
but it's all the same. I think the only difference is there's some like end game content that's different. So yeah, why don't we go through our standard stuff, and then we'll get into what I'm sure will be an extremely lengthy conversation.
Hell yeah, brother.
So you brought this one to the table. Why did you bring this game,
I'm
sir?
glad you asked. I put in there because I'm dumb. That's in the show notes. A friend gave me this game a long time ago, and he said he really enjoyed the game. This was back when it was relevant. It was an Xbox original game. It was we had 360s at the time that were backwards compatible with Xbox, if I remember correctly. And he said it was a good game, and he said he thought I would enjoy it because I actually in that conversation said that I enjoy these types of games that are like magic and swords and all that stuff, but ones that have some linearity was what I said, because I don't like games that are like super open, like you walk out like The Witcher and Skyrim, I guess, where you walk out and it's just like boom, an entire world. It's too much for me. I like a little linearity, not a hallway, but I do like, options. So he brought it to me, and I've had it ever since then, and I never played it. So I thought, it's a beloved game. Let's ruin somebody's fucking day about it.
Yeah. People
love this game, and I don't think they have any right to say that.
Well, going back to when it came out, 2004?
Sure.
Yeah, it was released originally towards the fourth quarter of 2004. And it was, for the time, I think it was a decent game from what I'm looking at and comparing it to games that also came out in that time frame.
Unique stuff, for sure.
Yeah. A brand new IP, fun concept, high fantasy, magic, swords, morality, playing with like good and evil and stuff. Like it was a pretty comprehensive game. The execution, I think, is what we're going to be harping on the most, but I think it was a really good starting point to get us Fable 2, Fable 3, to get us to Fable 2 and 3, which are out, that were amazing. Those games were great.
I've never played them.
Vastly different from Fable 1. Don't let this one have you not played 2 or 3. Those were very, very good.
I would like to just tap in real quick and list a few games that came out in 2004.
Hit me.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, generally regarded as the best in the series. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, that was a huge game per scale. Halo 2, that's, I think, also a lot of people's best in the series. Half-Life 2, Knights of the Old Republic, that game is fabled amongst people.
Yes.
Pokemon Fire Red, Leaf Green, it was one of the first really good remakes. I don't know. I don't need to keep going, but I just wanted to express how crazy some of the other games that came out that time were.
Just jumping ahead a little bit. So the biggest problem I had, spoiler, we both
World of Warcraft came out in 2004.
All right. We didn't get too far into this playthrough. We both had some issues with this. The first one for me, the glaring one for me, was the camera. I was getting motion sick trying to play.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I noticed it, but it wasn't affecting me very much. But I played mostly on handheld, as you may recall.
Right. So, and just for anybody that hasn't played, it was in a third-person view. The camera followed behind you as you would in third person, and as you turned your character around, it would move the camera by itself. But if you wanted to, you could move the camera manually, and it would try to like do this weird compensate that shook the whole screen weird, and it was just wild and unruly, and it was nauseating. Back to those games you had mentioned before, San Andreas, early Halos and all that, their graphics weren't phenomenal. I feel like they were kind of on par with Fable.
The art style of Fable did it no favors at all. It had a very weird art style.
Yes. I think Fable, when we get into graphics and art, which again, all of my notes, instead of like number scales, all of them just say it was rough. They focused very heavily on the character models because this game was very much about the characters.
Yeah.
So, and again, I mentioned this on like some of the times we talk about God of War or Miles Morales, like those games that they go for realism in their graphics. When there are errors or discrepancies, you can tell a lot more easily. So though it was a little goofy, it was going more. They were trying to go more realistic esque, and it was just bad,
Yeah.
right? San
Reminded
Andreas, I
me
feel
of,
like they were a
yeah.
little bit farther away, and anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say the art style kind of reminded me unintentionally of We Happy Few. Just kind
Mm,
of like Clown World style.
yeah,
Not great.
almost realistic, but so yeah, that was your history with the game. I just real quick,
Yeah.
because she's going to listen to this. My wife loves Halo 2 and 3, or jeez, Fable 2 and 3. I don't think she ever played one.
Did she
She
play
tried
Halo?
playing. No, she doesn't
Okay.
like shooters.
Just wondering.
She uh she
Freudian
tried
slip.
playing this for me because I played about 2 hours of this game,
Oh yeah.
got nauseated, and she was like, well, I'll try it, and so she got on, and she's gotten a lot farther than I have. So, and I
Interesting.
was trying to like watch her play, and she seemed to like it.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I like I said, I played on the Xbox. You played on the Steam Deck.
So I'm gonna try to keep this short, but to me this is an entertaining story. We had friends staying at our house when I decided to play this game. I loaded up on handheld the Fable's Lost Chapter, which I believe is just the PC version of Fable with a couple extra things. That game doesn't have native controller support at all. So somebody made a control scheme for the Steam controller, which is very similar to what's on the Steam Deck. It has two trackpads that are independent, as well as an Xbox style controller with triggers and every joysticks and all that. So I got a control scheme for it called Fable Control for Steam Controller Plebeians. It was horrible because none of the input commands that they tell you to do. This game had rather complicated combat in it.
Yeah.
All of the inputs said like use left shift or use like alt tab or alt control or tab to do these things, and then I'm holding an Xbox controller essentially,
Right.
and it's telling me to hit shift. Well, what button is shift? So even in the
Yeah.
training part, this was extremely difficult. And then there was one thing where you needed to aim with the right analog stick while holding X. I don't have two
Oh
thumbs.
wow.
So I'm
On one
sorry.
hand.
Yeah, that's duh. I don't have two thumbs on each hand. So I was like claw gripping this to try to play this. So
Oh
I was like,
wow.
this is fucking annoying. I own a copy of this. I own an Xbox 360. I don't want to dig that out and play it because I want to do this handheld. So I was like, let's emulate it, right? So I got the file on my Steam Deck, the ISO file or whatever, and it doesn't load. And then that's when I learned how complicated the Xbox emulation is. If the file is past a certain size, I think it's 6 gigabytes, it will not work on the emulator. I don't know why.
Oh wow.
So you compress it, but in order to compress it, it's not just zipping the file. You have to use console commands in order to compress it, whether it's in terminal on Steam OS or Linux or on Windows command prompts to be able to compress it. It's very complicated. It very much feels like you're giving yourself a virus on your computer to even do any of this. So I couldn't get it to work on Windows. So luckily, my friend that was staying here works a lot with Linux. Not even a gamer, but he was just like, yeah, we're going to figure this out. So I installed a virtual machine on my computer using Linux. So I can actually pull up a fake desktop of Linux on my computer. And then we
Nice.
used that, dropped the file in there, got access to it, did this whole console command like .cmd, whatever, all this shit, converted it, got it compressed, put it on there, and then it was a laggy mess. And I couldn't even play it. It was not emulatable at all. So after 6 hours, I decided, let's just go back to playing it. I'm not even kidding, dude. Let's go back to playing it on the handheld. So that was my experience and the platform used. So to answer your question, I played it on the Steam Deck using, in the end, just using a control scheme meant for handheld.
Wow.
with all of its terrible
See,
properties.
because I never touched the Steam Deck version of it because we share a library. I had the option to grab it from you at some point, and if I did
Yeah.
that, it probably would have messed me up. But
Luckily, your copy was just native
yeah,
controls.
it was
All
it
that.
was native controls.
Yeah.
So, but to that, even down to going into the menu was
Ugh.
a mess. It was
Yeah.
very what would be the right
A
descriptor? Like
bad port.
busy, I guess.
Busy.
It was
Yeah.
a yeah, bad port. It was not intuitive at all.
No, putting stat points in, it was very weird. Like it felt like I
Yeah.
wasn't at first it felt like I got my stat points put in, but then I realized I didn't. So then when I actually got my stat points for leveling up added in, it felt like I didn't. So it's weird that it
Yeah.
felt like I did, but I didn't, and then it felt like I didn't when I did. If anybody's still listening, thank you. Just want to say thanks.
Oh man.
It just
So,
wasn't.
all
It
right.
was just if I had an Xbox and I put it on and played it on Xbox, that would have been the ideal way to play this game. But I still think it would have been shit.
It it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was rough, man. So we're gonna circle back to gameplay later on, but let's round off the basics that we have left. Sound quality
Yeah, it wasn't great. It had
was not
very
great.
yeah, it had very like I see yeah, inconsistent. There were some effects that were really loud. The voice acting was strange. All of it was strange. Yeah.
Yeah, the voice acting, it again, inconsistent's a word I put on my notes a couple of times. And when it comes to the voice acting specifically, depending on which actor they had, some felt like they were just reading and trying to put on some weird accent, and some were actually performing, right?
Right.
Like what we
It was very
today.
theatrical, I thought.
Yeah. But you'd have two characters in a scene together, and one is much higher quality of a voice acting performance conversing with somebody who's just, I was gonna like shake some paper.
It sounds like they're recording on an answering machine.
Yeah, they're just like they just grabbed a piece of paper that moment and they're just like helping with a table read. Like
Right.
they're not doing
Super,
anything
yeah,
except
super
reading the
weird.
dialogue. Yeah. So there was that, and then there was one character, I forget who it was. I think the guy that's what was like a school or your main hub. That main person you talked to almost had like a Monty Python-esque like performative style. It was like not really on the comedy side, but just like in
Wasn't
how they were
intentional,
presenting. Yeah, it was. I got like Monty Python vibes. It almost sounded like the main. What's his name? Gene something.
Don't know.
I can't think of his name. Anyway, the main guy from Monty Python that everybody knows. I thought it was him actually
Right.
doing the voice acting, but it wasn't. Oh, speaking of voice acting, if you go into our Discord channel, put a spoiler. It's the
first one.
it's the second image, the long thin one.
Oh my
So
God.
I was looking up who the voice actors were because I wanted to see if there were any familiar names. I don't remember any of them, but one particular person, Peter Dixon, who played Maze, I think was the main person. I was reading the rest of them, and I got a kick out of some of these roles that he performed. So he
Yeah.
was Maze, a main character. Then he was a skill grader, a toll bandit, a competition fisher, and then it goes down. He was a chicken kicker.
Yeah.
Like they had to do a named NPC, a chicken kicker.
You said this guy's name it rolled out so easily, but his name is Peter, which some people would say means penis, and Dixon, which some people would say means penis. I just wanted to point that out.
I'm glad you brought us back to that.
Yeah. You're welcome. Just leave it to me for immaturity.
Love
Peter.
Peter.
Peter
Peter.
Dixon the chicken kicker.
I love it. And that's the episode title. All right. So, we already passed graphics and art, but again, it was rough. I also put a
Yeah.
spoiler in there of just a glaring example of
Just,
why.
dude, awful. Yeah, dude, that is
So
just
bad.
nightmare material. That's gonna go on Instagram for sure.
We got to add it.
It's ridiculous. And that was like the girl from the beginning that's like missing a cat or something.
I believe so. Yeah.
Dude, everybody looked like a nightmare. My wife looked at my Steam Deck when I was playing it, and she just like she had a very like childish reaction to it. She was just like, "That looks weird." I was like,
Yeah.
"It does." I was like, "I think it's intentional." I did see though there was a way to like add anti-aliasing and all these other things to try to smooth out the game a little bit on the PC version,
Right.
but
Oof.
God, they
Oh
looked like
man.
every character in it looked like a nightmare. So this game introduced some unique mechanics.
Yes.
And we discussed ahead of time, we knew it had a morality system like the good and bad. You know,
Hmm.
I said I was going to be a piece of shit,
Yep.
and you said you were going to be a paladin good boy.
I was going to be a goody two shoes. There's a quest early on, like when you're before the tragedy happens, and you talk to a woman who's looking for her husband,
Yeah.
and then later on you find her husband behind a building. Like, it didn't animate it this way, but it was like supposed to be him having an
Mooching on a
inappropriate
girl.
moment with like with his mistress or something.
Yeah.
And the good and bad option was, the good option was, oh, you need to go basically tell on him to his wife,
Yeah.
or you can just, ignore it. So it was a lot of stuff like that, very black and white choices
So in
that
that
could
case,
have, yeah.
this is another thing too. It directly told you this is the good choice, this is the bad choice. I thought that was
Yes.
it took me out of the game a lot.
Yeah.
And it's not what I would consider a good choice necessarily. Because what was the option was to not say anything, right? And that made
Mhm.
you a bad guy, but it also makes
Right.
you a little fucking snitch.
Yeah.
Like, so what I
You
did,
know, go ahead.
I didn't tell the wife, but I did beat the fuck out of the guy. So, he learned his lesson. The guards talked to me actually. Like they told my dad
Oh,
that I was
interesting.
causing a ruckus around town. But
Right.
uh
You know, I feel like this game was bad, but I think there was a lot of good that came from it. It was introducing mechanics that hadn't really been explored yet. So for that, I got to give it major props, because I really think that this morality system, along with like the combat that they were trying to go for, I think it got us to better games later on. Though again, that execution in this one was just lacking. So because they continued with morality in the other ones, and I don't think they were as stark choices as this one was. They
right.
actually had like harder decisions to make that were like,
Yeah.
you know, weren't as awful as they weren't as awful as a representation that this one gave for good and bad. So that was really the main mechanic, was this morality system. I think that was the groundbreaking one they were going for. The rest of it had combat. It had it had a day and night cycle that was tied to quests that became very frustrating.
Sounds like it would, yeah.
So, and I bring up the day and night cycle being frustrating because the first city you come to, one of the early quests is you have the option through this game to obtain, because I think you can have multiple wives. You can get married and I believe have children and start families, but you can have more than one. And there was a quest that was introducing this concept, but you were talking to this girl's father. You have yet to meet the girl, but he keeps saying, oh, she's gonna like somebody that has this hairstyle. So then you have to go take a little card that has a hairstyle on it to the barber shop, get yourself done up, and then you go back to the guy and say, well, actually, hold on, what if you add a mustache to that? And then you go back to the barber. But the day and night cycle would fuck me up because every 10 minutes it was cycling between day and night, and all the shops would close. Yeah, all the shops would close.
Yeah, you're just trying to get a damn mustache.
I know.
And and the moon and sun are fucking you up.
Yeah, you could actually on the map, if you bring up the menu and go to the map, all the markers that it would show you, like, this is a town, a barber, enemy location, bandits, and then you'd have a marker for your wife, so you can always go find your wife.
It's like the iPhone tracking, Find My Wife. The stuff in this game was a little bit too, like, on the nose for me. How it's like, this is a good choice, this is a bad choice. This woman is interested in this hairstyle, like this hairstyle.
Yeah.
I wanted to also show you, this is the progression of each good boy, bad boy scenario.
Yeah.
I don't want to look like any of these guys, to be honest with you. Are you looking at this picture?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, they look... I think if I had to pick what I look like, I would say maybe the bad version, 3 bad stages in, before you start getting weird veins on your forehead.
Right.
Before your mouth starts bleeding, or before you become a straight up devil.
You don't like the equal one on the top one?
I don't even know how to describe that guy, dude. He's just the holy... Yeah, it's just... The graphics of this game, the art style is just so weird, man. And, like, it's so on the nose. Like, if you choose the bad route, you grow horns out of your forehead and your eyes turn red. Yeah. Like, because you didn't tell... This all stems from not telling a guy's wife that he's cheating on her. Yeah. Like, those are the types of morality choices you're making, and then eventually you become the devil himself because you did not snitch.
Yeah, I don't know if you got a dog in this one, but in later games you get a canine companion that would also change with you as you progressed. Like, the dog would, like, grow wings or, like, turn shadowy and stuff. And I believe, we didn't get far enough in this one to find out, but I know in later games, if you went super evil and went into a big town, people would, like, run from you and be scared of you.
As long as they don't talk to me, I'm into that.
Yeah. And that would change your interactions. And I believe if you were, like, all good, you would get, like, discounts at vendors and stuff. So, like, it had mechanical benefits and things, social parameters that would change depending on which way you were leaning.
Yeah. So you're saying that going into a town with wings and horns coming out of your forehead with bloody eyes and a mouth is probably not a good look if you're trying to get a discount at a shoe store?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. I got to change my look in real life then.
So, and again, I think it was a good starting point. It was going to get us to some of these other ones.
Definitely a starting point.
Let's see here. How did you like the combat?
So, I already talked to you a little bit about the control blunders.
Yeah.
I think that it was complex combat, even without the issues that I experienced, while also being just way too simple. They should have done no bow, just magic for ranged and sword for melee, and then not done the bow and then expanded on that more. So that way it would be, less diverse, but better.
I agree.
Okay.
The bow, even if you had native controls, was a weird way to control it. It was like auto aim to a certain degree until you actually, like, drew back the bow. It was very, very strange.
Yeah.
And again, I think we've said this for other games. I forget which one it was, probably Metal Gear Solid. It was still early to where there wasn't really a standard. Every game now, if you've got a combat mechanic with a bow, you don't really have to think about it. They all function basically the same. So
Yeah, like think of God of
this one
War
was,
where it had everything that we just mentioned in it. I mean, again, it's a much newer game, but like,
yeah,
geez, holy
right. But I'm just
moly.
saying there's like standards now to where, or back in 2004, they were kind of having to figure it out still.
Yeah.
So they were like, what works? We'll just put it here. And, 20 years later, it's not really
Yeah, this
functioning.
is an old game. I need to give it a little bit more credit for that. But then
Yeah.
again, we did pull up games that have the same release year, and holy shit, dude, Fable's pretty
Yeah.
slimy.
Yeah. Yeah. The Magic was one of those really loud sound bites for me.
Oh yeah.
Every time
Yep.
it was so loud. I think I had lightning or something first.
Same. Yeah.
It was, I had to turn the whole TV down. It was just, it was too loud and it was too frequent. I remember when I would watch my wife play, I think two or three similar issue, not really with the sound, but this next one I'm going to describe, you kind of just get stuck spamming one thing over and over again. I'd watch her, go through one of these areas, hit a bunch of enemies, and it's just spam lightning, 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 over and over and over again, and that was it.
Yeah.
It was very. I think you mentioned it was a very simple combat mechanic, and I don't think it's really changed much when it comes to the newer games for the combat.
Interesting.
But
I just don't. I don't know how
think,
sound quality stuff like that gets past production at all. They're like the lightning is way louder than anything else in the game. Some of the characters' voices are super loud. It was just, yeah, I don't know. If you're playing a game, I get it if it's in a movie or something and you're probably holding the volume control and you can turn it up and down depending on it. But I don't understand how that makes it into a game because you're holding a controller, so you can't just constantly turn it up and down. I don't know.
We would have been still on CRTs with embedded speakers that were lower quality. Maybe it kind of,
oh yeah,
maybe it filtered out some of the ick.
those 5-watt speakers pumping the sound.
Yeah, it could be. Let's see here. I don't think I really have much else. I think we mentioned we didn't really get too far into it, so we could talk about the story a little bit from what we've read or anything. I read a little bit about the story. It gets pretty convoluted.
It's very surprising.
So I would say, why don't we just talk about the intro? Because I mean, from childhood to when you go out on your own, I think is probably what we both experienced.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to?
So,
I mean, I'll kick you.
Yeah, just to set the stage, and this isn't really gonna to be spoilers because it's not very far into the game. But
yeah,
basically,
you're not going to play it anyway
this.
because you know it sucks. If you're listening to this, you've already played it and you have built it up in your head as a great game, and it's not. So you start out, you're a little jit running around your town. You're a very generic town.
Oakvale.
Oakvale, dude, what a name too. Just it's a generic fantasy name. And you're trying to come up with 3 coins to be able to purchase your sister a birthday gift for, that she's going to enjoy for the rest of her life. And then you do these tasks that are just menial, just not even well-placed tutorial type of stuff. Sometimes they incorporate these tasks and it's like a semi-tutorial. No, this is just the small introduction to the morality system and then running around and talking to people. Your sister is loud and annoying. And then you get the first decision where there's a guy schmoozing around with the wrong lady, and you have the choice to tell his wife or let him do his thing or beat him up, I guess. I was surprised that wasn't an option. Like, I felt like something that would, like, if you're going to be a devil, I think beating a guy up would be more on the evil side, but
right.
Then you get these 3 coins, and this guy's like, "It's your lucky day. I'm gonna sell you." What? It was candy.
Yeah, I think it was a box of chocolates or something.
Fucking weird, man. I don't know. I wouldn't buy candy from a stranger for my younger sister.
One of the other Again, I think you had it nailed it right on the head. The first bit in Oakville was really a tutorial for the morality system and how black and white it was going to be. One of the other ones was you were asked to watch over a merchant's crates, and the morality test was, do you watch them and that's it, or do you get influenced by another kid coming saying that you guys should like root through them and steal stuff?
I don't remember. I don't think I was posed with that dilemma. I
No.
don't specifically remember what I did, but that wasn't one of the options for me that I recall.
Yeah, I think it was in Oakville, or it was in the greater school area. I can't
Oakvale
remember which
area.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was in Oakville. But anyway, and there was a third one. I don't remember what it was.
I don't remember either. But I hate when it's just like a guy and he's like, I have what you want. It's exactly like, what if I don't want to buy my sister candy for her birthday? What if I want to buy her a knife because it seems more appropriate given the direction of this game?
Well, you mentioned earlier liking to a degree linear story, and this was very linear.
Yeah, I don't want that. Was maybe that's what Dan heard when I said I liked a degree of linearity in games, and he was like, "Well, guess what, buddy? I got you a hallway.
I got the game for you, bro.
Yeah. You're gonna need 3 gold. This guy has 3 gold. You know, like there's 3 tasks in front of you, 1 gold apiece. This guy's selling the next quest item for 3 gold exactly. No opportunities to get more money. Progress is not always progress."
To the thing you talked about with the sleaze bag smooching on somebody else and you beating them up, and that being, I don't think it had an impact on the morality, or the fact that you got tattled on was part of it. But later on, after you leave and go out on your own, there's a guy berating a homeless person.
Nothing wrong with that.
In between two towns, and it kind of flips it. So you got it's like, okay, the guy is like, that doesn't like the homeless guy being there, is really really mean and rude about it, and the homeless guy's like just trying to be a nice old jolly fella or whatever. But then the good option becomes beating
the
up
guy at home,
the other guy, to get him to go away. Or was it beating him up, or was it like,
what?
You had you had emotes, and I think you had to fart on them or something.
That's fucking weird.
Yeah, I completely forgot this, because in tandem with the morality, there's also like a
fart system,
social aspect to the game. Depending on how much NPCs like you, it can affect how they interact with you later on,
just like real life.
Or shopkeepers getting discounts, or being gouged, whatever it is. But you can do emotes where you like smile or hug or fart or make, there's stuff like that. And I think that was one of them. You had to like make him go away by farting on him, I think. I'm getting a couple of them mixed up because a lot of them just felt the same. But
I didn't see that part at all. You obviously got a little bit further than I was willing to go with this game.
All your playtime was in setup.
Yeah, I played this game. I spent a lot more time with this game than you did, but you just are so much better at it. You got further than me. I didn't. I did fart on the girl. What? I'm assuming the initial love interest or something, girl that you meet. But yeah, like she was trying to show me something, and I hit the wrong button on my plebeian Steam controller, and I farted on her, and she was just like, "Why would you do that?" Because that's the kind of guy I am. I'm a real badass girl.
I want to get a sound clip of you saying, "And I farted on the girl."
And I farted on the girl.
And put that on all of our socials.
She didn't like it, but I find in real life that women love that shit. So I don't know. It's crazy to me. News to me.
Oh man.
That's how you like, they say, all right, never mind.
So we did miss some stuff, but I did want to call this out for the end of it. No. In our early on stuff that we typically talk about, like who did it, all that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It was on Microsoft. They published it.
Low bar.
what I did want to talk about was the critic scores. So IGN 9.3. This was for the 2004 version, the original release.
Yeah.
Metacritic mid 80s, but then the anniversary, which was basically a 10-year later re-release with additional content on newer hardware, blah blah blah, all the stuff you get with a re-release or like a whatever. 68. It scored considerably lower on the re-release.
I wonder if that's just chalk it up to being a very bad port.
Yeah,
Among
either a bad port,
like the game
or
aged very poorly, and people are like, "Oh, this sucks."
That's what I think it is.
Yeah.
I think it was when it first came out. It was like, man, this game is really doing a lot of stuff we haven't seen before, or it's doing things that we have seen in a way that I like, and it just didn't really carry that later on. After, because I believe that on the 10-year anniversary, Fable 2 and 3 had already come out, so those had already been played. So when
Yeah, somebody was like, "Oh, let's play an old game and see if we like it."
Right. Oh man, so I think that's like all I got for my notes. We're not going to go crazy in the story. It's it's very high fantasy, very very complex of a story. We didn't get too far. It was a rough play, but yeah.
I feel like the last couple games I've picked have not been very good, so I gotta go back to the drawing board on something. I did okay with Ragnarok, but then it was like Metal Gear Solid, Ori, this bullshit. You did get Rise of Industry in there.
You wanted to go back to older games, and I understand why. There was a lot of games that you and I both missed out on for one reason or another. And I think there are some games, this one included, part of the reason I think these things score so well is at the time it was amazing. But now that time has passed, there are better things. And it's very difficult to go back to some of these if they were just subpar based on what we're used to now.
Yeah. It's crazy because this game is a lot newer. Just to bring it up, like take it back a second. Metal Gear Solid is 6 years older than this game, maybe 7. And that game played so much better. Like, and it was still a pretty complicated game as far as like the combat and stuff goes. And just the mechanics in general were still very complicated, but this game just didn't hold up. And this is Microsoft Studios too. Like I don't know, man. It's just crazy to me. But Microsoft has never messed up anything, so that's very.
It's because they were, it's because they were wanting to do this on PC and on Mac, because they did have a Mac port.
Okay,
I'm curious how that played.
Probably worse.
Probably.
Yeah. That's the legacy.
Oh, man. Well, I think that's going to do it.
Yeah, that's it for me, man. Love that game. Don't recommend it to anybody unless you're a really big fan of the series and you just want to see the way that it came about. You can let this one stay in the gutter. Stay on the backlog. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from my computer right now.
So I think the only thing we need to really do after this is talk about what our next game is going to be. So actually, it's my turn. So the next game that I'm bringing is by Telltale, The Wolf Among Us. Been seeing these, pretty excited. I think you've kind of already dabbled with some of theirs before. I don't know if it was The Wolf Among Us or any of the other ones.
I'm a big fan of the Telltale games in their original entity. Pretty big fan of them. So
they were were they a comic first, or were they a combination of stuff?
So this was a comic first. The comics was Fables. They also did a series of The Walking Dead, which was all original content, but that was also a comic. They had a Borderlands series that was pretty good. And they also had a Game of Thrones one, which I could not bring myself to be into. Gotcha. I think they've also done like a Batman one as well, but I didn't care.
Oh, shit.
But
well, hey, if this one ends up being a good one, maybe we can dive into some of the other ones. I knew they had the Walking Dead one, which
the Walking Dead one is a long one.
Is it? I think I had learned of those first, but we actually have The Wolf Among Us in our backlog in our catalog already. So
Yeah.
wanted to go ahead and try to actually knock stuff off the backlog. So well, I think that's gonna do it. Anything else before we wrap up and plug some random stuff?
No, I'm excited to get into it because I feel like it's a game that warrants a game. It's a thing that just warrants a lot of discussion. So yeah, I'm stoked
Why
to get
not?
into it, and
Cool.
I can't wait. I'm erect.
So so yeah, you can find us linktr.ee/321 backlog. All our stuff's on there. We try to post as much as we can, but social media is tough sometimes. We do actually have a merch shop. You can find a bunch of random assortments of things that we tossed our logo on. So if you want to show support there, and we even have a promo code for the energy concoction Dubby. So go to dubby.gg and use promo code 321 backlog. You'll get 10% off and it'll give us a little bit of support there. So we appreciate everybody listening. We will see you next time.
Good night.